I want to talk about this All Eyes on Me trailer that just hit the net yesterday. The Tupac Shakur movie is here. You've been asking for it, ladies and gentlemen, and it has arrived. It is in the description below. If you want to check it out, please do, especially before you listen to this commentary, because D always wants to know what you think. It's what I'm here for. So let's get to the cold hard facts here. This movie is being directed by Benny Boom, who is a seasoned hip hop music video director who's directed videos with everybody from the likes of Nas to LL Cool J to Diddy to 50 Cent. So at least you feel like the film is in good hands in terms of the direction, because the guy's in his 40s. Maybe he's met Pac once or twice in the past, so he should have a good idea about the life and times of Tupac Shakur. And speaking of Tupac, he's being played by a guy by the name of Demetrius Shipp Jr. Now, when I saw the trailer, you get a couple of glimpses of Demetrius, and he looks just enough like Pac. Not exactly like Pac. I've seen impersonators who have looked more similar, but I feel that that's a good thing, because when somebody looks exactly like the bio subject, it's distracting. It's just way too much. The Biggie movie is a good example of, again, a well-casted character that looks similar to the real-life person, but didn't look exactly like them. And as a matter of fact, Gravy, Jamal Woolard, who played in the Notorious movie, is also playing Biggie in this movie. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, they're marrying those two worlds together as if these two people are existing within the same universe. Now, getting to the trailer, you can definitely see that it probably has about the same budget as the Biggie movie, which didn't seem like it was that great. I mean, I didn't look up anything on that, but you could definitely tell from the teaser that it's not going to be like a global event the way that the NWA film was. I hope that they really capture what Pac really was and who Pac really was. Because, you know, you can capture who the person was by obviously showing how great they were at their skill. That's the easy thing to present within the biopics. But I think within the bios, and I use the Biggie movie as an example, the danger of them is when they underscore the goodness of people too much. I'm of the opinion, as I was discussing with somebody on Snapchat the other day, I'm of the opinion that these figures that stick with us for years and years and years have to contradict themselves. It's just what makes them, it's what makes people universally and infinitely scratch their heads on what they were. You know, you couldn't really understand them. You couldn't really get them because they were walking contradictions. Now, Pac, of course, being the person who preached about unity and about, fixing our neighborhoods and, being the masters of our own universe. But, yet again, was very quick to jump on a record and to say, motherfucker, I'll kill you. I'll do this shit. So he was very self-aware, and he had to be aware of the fact that he's also contributing to this aura of negativity, while at the same time having those Black Panther genes in him, where he was an orator, he was an organizer, and he cared about his community. Now, he was a walking contradiction in that sense, which is no different than Muhammad Ali, for example, who preached a message of Black unity, and at the same time, sort of disgraced Joe Frazier, in Time for Their Bout, where he was just basically calling him a gorilla and really just making fun of the fact that Joe had dark skin and this was in front of whites. And many could say that that's a great contradiction. But with Muhammad Ali, there are a lot more controversial things that happened with him, more so than that case. But I'm just giving you an example, to illustrate the point that with some of these movies, like the Biggie movie, it's too positive for the subject. It made Biggie look too good. It made Diddy look too good. There were certain scenes where when Pac was shot, they completely tried to just absolve them of any sort of fault. I remember there was that scene when Pac was shot at that New York City studio, and right, Pac is in the elevator and the paramedics are around, and all of a sudden Biggie and Diddy show up like 10 minutes after the fact. And he's like, it was you guys. It was you guys who shot me. And I think the motherfucker even said West Side in the middle of it. I don't know, because Anthony Mackie, in my opinion, was the worst Tupac ever. And Anthony Mackie was basically, him in that movie was, I could only think of one analogy for that. And it's when you were younger and you wanted to imitate your dad. So what you did was you put on his shoes and maybe you put on a tie and you were just a little kid playing dress up. And I think that's what Anthony Mackie did in that movie. It's just, he just didn't have the energy. He just didn't have the charisma. He's a great fucking actor, but he just didn't have the charisma to be, to play Pac. So what I would hope in this film is that they really capture that they don't make Pac look like this sacred cow who could do no wrong. Obviously, you want to wrap it up and you want to let people get out of that movie theater by making Pac look like he was a person of reason, somebody who had conviction and who had an overall positive message, which I do believe that he did. But at the same time, we have to show what makes Pac stick with us. And it's not only his music, it's about the things that he said. It's about the things that we may disagree with, the things that we agree with. It's what makes people great historical figures. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, I don't want to keep using the Biggie movie as an example, but I guess it's the pretty, there's parallels there. And of course it's Biggie, it's Tupac. So that's a pretty easy example to make. Now, I really don't know what to make up of the film. Obviously it was sort of a teaser in a way, but I mean, it seems like you're definitely going to see his death. I get a feeling that in this film you're going to see him going out in the blaze of fire. Like he's going to get shot. It's not going to be one of these things where they just blank everything out. It might be no holds barred, and I think that needs to be seen because so much about Pac's death is just it's baffling to some of us to think that Pac could get shot in the main strip in Vegas after a Mike Tyson fight. And still to this day, there's some people who point fingers in certain directions and people say certain things about Suge Knight. And I really have no fucking clue if there's any validity to any of those stories. But to think that there aren't any sound and grounded arguments about who killed Tupac Shakur, it's really fucking crazy. So I get a feeling that in this film you're gonna see that directly. They're not gonna hide it. They're not gonna treat you with kid gloves. But I'm very excited about the film, and I hope that the guy who's playing Tupac, I hope that we get the different cadences of Tupac and we just don't get the Detroit Red Wings Pac coming out of that building and just spitting at that cameraman. I hope that we get the sensitive moments in Pac, because Pac did appear to be a very sensitive dude. I mean, he had a theater background, so he's a very passionate, very sensitive guy, very artistic, even with all his thugged out shit. And I'm hoping we can get all those layers. I mean, I don't think I necessarily want to see all the digital underground stuff. I don't think I'm interested. If there's a fucking Humpty in the movie, I'm going to fucking shoot myself. I don't think we have to see that. I would more so just like to see, I would more so like to see young Pac, growing up and, maybe dealing with Afeni and her, and her drug habits. And then maybe fast forwarding, to him, sort of getting into, getting to know Suge Knight. And maybe let's take it from there, because I don't want to waste any time. Well, they did say that that there was going to be a Jada Pinkett character. So that leads me to believe that it's going to be a little bit of, teenage Pac, which, I mean, I guess that's okay. But I mean, either way, I'm gonna enjoy it, because I know there's more meat on the bones with somebody like Tupac, which in my opinion, maybe I've never expressed this, but like a lot of people, I've never really seen Pac as the greatest of all time. I've never seen Pac as a lyricist necessarily, even though he was lyrical at times. I just felt that Pac just knew how to write songs, and he knew how to convey emotions. I never heard a Pac song where I thought that Pac said some crazy shit that I had to rewind. But everything was just done with so much emotion, and there was just something about him that you couldn't turn away from the television. You couldn't turn away from it. You know, I remember the first time, well, not the first time, but I remember I remember where I was when I found out Pac died. I was in my bedroom as a kid. I remember, I don't know how old I was. I can't even do the math. I mean, I think when Pac died, which I guess was 97, I guess, 96, 97, I was probably 14, 15 at the time. And I remember I was sick, and I was sitting on my top bunk, and then this news flash came with Kurt Loder, who was an old news guy for MTV. And he was like, Tupac Shakur is dead. And I just didn't really even know how to process it, because Pac, to me, as I was listening to rap music in my teenage years, like, Pac was just this violent person who, every time there was a news story about him, he was always yelling at the camera. He was just always just being very violent. I mean, it's how the media portrayed him. They didn't show you the other sides. And that's what I'm hoping that the movie captures. That's my point. I really hope that the movie captures the other more sensitive sides, the maybe a lot of scenes with his mother, things like that. So I just don't want to see the rah-rah, shoot 'em up, thug life, Pac. I'd like to see the other layers, and I think that there's a lot there, so I'm pretty excited about this film. But what do you guys think? You guys need to follow me on Snapchat. Follow me on Snapchat, because I'm probably talking about the Pac movie right now. Right at this minute, I'm talking about the Pac movie, and I'd like to know your opinions of it, either on Snapchat or right down there in the description below. So please like the video, please comment on the video, and I will see you freaks next week.